Stream has begun. I press the start button, and there's no going back once that happens. There's no going back once you press the start button. If it's your first time here, we'll do the pre-show, hang out for a second, and then start. You might want to fast forward, or not. If it's not your first time here, you know the deal. I have to post a tweet. I have to get the link. It's just me. I'm the only one watching my own stream right now. One watching. It's me. Paging Dr. Baudrillard. Okay, I'm going to write the tweet right now. Normally I write it before the show, but I didn't because I'm running late. I'm just going to be totally honest with you right now. I'm just going to write this really quick. One time I wrote call-in show. I call it the call-in show, and someone was like, "How do I call in?" And I'm like, "Okay, it's not literally the call-in show." Boom. Got the link. You gotta get that pick. It's all about the pick. It's all about the branding. In the art world, you got to brand your stuff. You know, that's how you get to sell paintings for like $65,000 or something, right? Boom, the pick is posted. I'm going to get the TV emoji. Even though technically I'm running late. I feel like it's worth it to just get that little symbol. In the tweet. The tweet has been tweeted. I'm not spell checking it. What's up? People are here. How's it going, guys? Let me just move some windows around. I like the... See, I can look at the normal window that we all have together, but the window I have, since I'm the one hosting it, is dark, and the writing is white on black, and it looks way cooler. Okay, cool. Let's see. I'm just going to make sure I got everything set up because I rolled in a minute later than normal. So I'm just going to make sure I got everything. Got the paint situation. Then we'll hang for a sec, and then we'll do this. Okay. I got the paint. I mean, that's basically the only thing I really need, right? I got the brushes. If it's anyone's first time here, normally I'm very paranoid about being well prepared and having everything together, but I feel like the end of the month is like the casual show. It's almost like casual Friday in a way. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're all set up here. Yeah, I think we're good. Cool. I used to do a lot of like, you know, not really performing, but like, you know, talking in front of people stuff, and like, there's always this feeling right before you get going where you look around and you're like, oh man, am I going to start talking and realize I totally forgot like that one thing that I really need? But I think we're cool. I don't know where to put my paint. I'm just going to put it on this table right here. Anyway, how are you guys doing? It's been a good week over here. What time is it right now? 7:05. We'll hang for a minute and then we'll get this thing going. Nice. We got people in the chat. Santi G, Ren, Tyler. Esoteric Mormon fact. The 9 countries with the highest population of Mormons per capita are all Pacific Islander nations. Wow, that's actually pretty crazy. Yeah, I guess per capita that makes sense, right? I didn't really look into that. They have like a grip on like certain countries down there. Yeah, man, I guess, you know, like I said, normally pre-show we talk about me a little bit, see what's been going on with me. Yeah, I've been talking about it on the show. I've honestly been trying not to talk about it like too much, just because I don't want to be always talking about one topic, but I've been going crazy hard on the Mormon stuff, man, and it has been insane. It has honestly been so genuinely interesting that it's just a really good time. I was thinking about it today. I was walking my dog, and I was thinking, you know, why? Because it's been a while now. It was even before I moved here. I read the whole Book of Mormon and a bunch of other stuff, and I'm still reading stuff about it. And I was thinking, you know, it's interesting. I thought that I would kind of like hit this spot and keep it moving. I was like, why am I still looking at this, you know? for a variety of reasons. But I thought that one reason was that a lot of the scholarship that I read about it was really coming from the perspective of like, it's impossible to look at and talk about American religion and the phenomenon of American religion in general without hitting Mormonism. And I feel like it's so interesting because such a big part of my endeavor was like, like what it means to be in this time and place and spiritual life and things like that. So it's almost like I turned over this rock and realized like it's not just a rock, there's like a lot of stuff under there. It's kind of how it feels. I read a whole book over the last week. I read this book called Mormon Philosophy Simplified. It's pretty interesting. I don't necessarily know if I'd recommend it because it takes a pretty hard detour into like social issues from like the author's point of view. And I was like, okay, this is interesting, but it's not really why I'm here right now. But it was pretty cool. I'm reading another book right now called Mormons in the Bible. I don't really have time to read, so I just like fall asleep reading this stuff every night. And it's been pretty crazy interesting, man. And then I hit this debate today while I'm working. So right now I'm working on this calendar that I've been talking about a lot. And a few other images. They look really sick. But while I'm working, I can listen to stuff. And I listened to a debate between James White and this Mormon guy. And they were talking about theosis and deification. And that's super interesting because some people probably know. Some people probably have no idea just because it's kind of like a, I don't want to say more random, but it's a little bit of a, I guess you would say literally esoteric topic, but theosis, becoming like God, is an aspect of deeper theology and Christianity, you could say. And it was interesting listening to that debate because normally you really only hear the Orthodox guys get up front and like talk about theosis straight up. I've heard some of the Catholic guys talk about it a little bit, but they usually don't use that term. This is just my amateur perception of it. Usually they'll use the term like sanctification, which I guess is kind of more accurate from their view. But it was interesting because James White is like a straight up Protestant. I basically just read the Bible guy. I guess sola scriptura would be the proper way to describe that. And it was interesting because the Mormon guy comes out of the gate with all these early church father quotes. I don't know if people know or if people have looked into this, but you can dig up like, I think we talked about it for a second last week, but you can dig up a lot of patristic. That means like early church fathers. Like early guys, 100 to 3, 4, 5, 600 AD. And you can dig up quotes by them where they'll say, God, came to earth and became a man so that we can participate in divinity, so that we can become like God and all this stuff. So he brings up all these quotes, and I wasn't really sure how James White was going to respond. But it was interesting because the angle he took was, well, anytime you find quotes like that in a larger context, what it almost always comes down to is the church fathers are speaking to a pagan audience who would never think of the man-God gap as being bridgeable, let's say, in any way. In their minds, basically the picture he painted was these are Christian apologists who are so early in the game that they're talking to pagans who, for them, the idea of God becoming a man, like a flesh and blood, fleshy being the technical theological term, man would have been so absurd to them that that's why they're appealing to this aspect of bridging the gap between God and man. And he's saying it's not really in the way that you're making it sound like you're taking it out of context. And I thought that was really interesting because we hit a lot of Clement of Alexandria stuff, maybe earlier this year, maybe it was January or February, we did a few episodes on Clement of Alexandria. And I know that he has some stuff like that. He has some pretty wild kind of like detours when you read his writing. And I thought that was interesting because it sort of gave me a different spin on it. I do want to go back and look at his writing. Now that I've hit some of the Mormon stuff, it's interesting because, I forget if I said this last week, I don't think I did. But if you were here when we did the Clement of Alexandria episodes, there's one part where he's talking about Moses. I think we did a whole episode on Moses in particular. And Clement of Alexandria talks about Moses, and we did actually do a whole episode on it, about him as a prophet and how he would have learned about Egyptian religion, and it's super interesting. And then there's this break where he just takes this hard turn and starts talking about Moses in heaven, getting this different name, and I don't know if he uses the word exalted and entering like an exalted state, but it almost kind of reminded me of some of the weirder stuff I've been reading now. A lot of the 1800s Christian stuff, not just the Mormons, it's almost characterized by these like boom, left turn of like, oh yeah, by the way, like this person from the Bible, they became an angel, or like this angel from the Bible, it's actually this guy, and like all these weird, wild turns. So I kind of wanted to go back into it and look at it again. But it's been super interesting. It's been super interesting for sure. It's been a really good time. Let's see. Got tagged in the chat. Oh yeah, well, we'll talk about it when we start the show. Was listening to a podcast about remote viewing, assuming you know what it is. Yeah, in case anyone doesn't know, remote viewing is like when you see stuff that's not right in front of you. It's almost like psychic viewing, I guess you could say. And this agent said the only people who practiced this, who stayed devout, were Catholics and Mormons. Curious. Said it probably had something to do with broader theology of body and soul that many Protestants lack. Yeah, I think I know the thing that you're referring to. I haven't read it myself, but I heard someone talking about it. But yeah, basically they put people through these tests of like experimenting with different psychic phenomenon. And if we're thinking about the same thing, yeah, it's basically what you just said. Like a lot of people, it took them out of their previous religious base, and a lot of people it didn't. That is interesting. That is interesting. I should pull some of that stuff up. We should do like an episode on like weird paranormal stuff. I was posting about it last night. Maybe that's why you brought it up. Okay, it's 7:12. Let's hang out for one more second, and then we'll pull the trigger. Anything we should talk about? We're going to talk about all that stuff during the show and other stuff, or whatever you guys want, or whatever I want, because it's my show. Any other anecdotes I should plug before we pull the trigger on this? Usually I tell you guys something about me. The show's not really about me, but I did something interesting last week, actually. I took my dog to see this like dog psychologist because she's really angry all the time. Not all the time, actually, but she's just really scared of other people. So it's pretty interesting. I took like a state drive over to go to this other state, and I stayed there, and I took my dog to this like dog psychologist, and it was a really interesting time because so much of like what I do revolves around thinking about the mind and like reflecting on my own mind. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting in this room with this woman, and like her job is like studying the dog mind and like getting inside the dog's brain and everything. It was pretty cool, actually. I don't really have anything like particular to like dive into, but I posted a little bit about like behavioral stuff because that's part of what I was thinking about. We had this whole like long conversation about like how creatures learn in general, and if what's called positive punishment can actually ever change behavior. Basically what positive punishment is like, you know, if you don't want a kid to touch the stove, well, that's not a good example. If you don't want the kid to touch like your car, whenever the kid touches your car, you hit him with a stick. You punish them every time they do something. And she was saying that basically like all the data shows that doesn't work ever, almost in any situation ever. And what you have to do is the opposite. You have to reward alternative behaviors. So she said for dogs that the research is 100% in. But I thought it was interesting because I was thinking about myself, and I was thinking about how I try to change certain habits, and I was wondering if positive punishment ever worked for me. Like most people have tried to like stop cursing, and you put money in a swear jar or something like that. And I feel like it hasn't. I feel like it's never worked for me ever. I feel like I've always had to do what you described, replace the behavior with something else. So kind of interesting. Maybe we're not that dissimilar from the four-footed companions, but that's enough about me. It's time. It's time to start the show.
We should start the service. we want everybody that's here, that's got the Holy Ghost, to get in the service, put something in the service. And if you haven't got the Holy Ghost, come and seek the Lord and get it, because you need it.
Amen.
And I like to say this too, just be yourself. If you obey the Lord when we don't have photographers around, well, obey Him when we do. And just be yourself. Now.
All right. What's going on, everybody? What's going down? It's time for the last show of the month. In case you don't know, maybe you've never been here. It's been a little while since we did one of the chat ones, which is kind of cool for me. You know, normally I'm not worried about, because it always goes very well, but normally I am thinking about, you know, I prep the show, I usually hit some books, I got some notes, I got papers, I'm thinking about what we're going to talk about, I'm thinking about the image, I'm planning stuff out, but I kind of like the last show of the month. It's a little bit more casual, I can kind of talk to you guys a little bit more, talk about whatever you guys want, or basically anything could happen, so it's kind of fun for me. So in case you forgot, haven't been here, don't know, the deal is that you tag me in the chat. If you write my name, @OwenCyclops, I'll see it in red. If you don't write that, I'm not going to see it. Sometimes people talk to each other in the chat. That's great. I encourage it. Bond. Develop eternal links of friendship. But if you don't put my name, I'm not going to see what you said. And we will make an image based on those suggestions. I got a bunch of books here. I don't know if we're going to use them. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. I was thinking about this book. We've used this one a little bit, not too much. The Dictionary of Bible Types. I say this every time, but some people don't know. Types here means like typology, as in things from the Old Testament relating to the New Testament, types in that sense. And maybe we'll dig into this one a little bit. We did the Book of Symbols a ton, so I kind of retired that, although I do have that here. And we also have this bad boy going on right here. Dictionary of Subjects and Symbols in Art. This is the closest to an inverse symbol dictionary that I've ever found. I've always wanted a book where you can look up a theme and then go backwards and find the symbols. So in basically every symbol dictionary, symbolism book, you can look up sun and it'll tell you royal, regal, God in Egyptian culture. But you can't go backwards. You can't look up justice and then find symbols that stand for justice. But with this book, you can. So while people think of some stuff, load up the chat. I'll look in 1 second. Maybe let's just see really quick. I didn't really plan this out. I could have. But I wonder if something like prophecy would be in here. Almost everything. It's funny. I found this book and I said, wow, I finally found it. I finally found the inverse symbol dictionary. But basically every specific thing I've ever tried to look up in here has not been in here. So maybe we'll just try one. And then if not, we'll jump in. PRO, prodigal son. That's pretty classic, actually. Priapus, we're not going to do that on the show. Psalter, prophecy. No, it's not in here. Okay. Well, I thought we would just check. Anyway, let's see. I got the brushes going. I got the size going. And let's just get started. Kind of did a little bit of a monologue in the pre-show. In case you weren't there, you didn't miss much. I was hanging out with my dog, and we talked about Mormonism for a second. Also, I guess if you want to ask me anything, talk about any topics, you can. But otherwise, let's just jump in. And we already have one suggestion. Santi G says, I'm going to have to suggest, it doesn't say that, it says I'm going to suggest a ladybug to kick things off. They have a summer vibe for me. Yeah, man, that's perfect. Let's do that. Part of the reason why I like doing the, call it the call-in show, why not, is that I was thinking about this today. You know, when you do art, I'm sure it's the same for like poets and musicians and anything. It's kind of happened like with my musical instrument playing also, but in a different way. You eventually sort of get like a vocabulary built up. You kind of end up doing the same thing over and over and over sometimes. And it's a little bit hard to refresh, to keep things fresh basically. So I like doing this because it's almost like on my end, I don't want to say like a Rorschach test, but it's almost like a random number generator. You guys say things that I wouldn't normally think of. And I try and not filter it. One time someone said like a dinosaur or something. Sometimes things I would never think of drawing, and then we get it going together. Ladybug's an interesting one. It definitely fits the vibe right now. Honestly, what I'm thinking is, the other thing on my end as we do this is the last like kind of meta note I'll say. But what I try and do when we're doing this right now is, part of the show is about, you know, picture making and putting images together in that way. I try and not have it so it's like 10 little individual things all not interacting. So as I'm going forward and like building the image, I want to think ahead for how I'm going to relate these symbols and things together. And a lot of what I do image-wise, I try and use like little spaces. I try and use like little windows or little forms or gaps and like put stuff in there. So when I'm thinking about the ladybug has those windows. They're almost like little windows really on its back, those little black spots. So I'm thinking that I'm gonna grab a dark color. Maybe we'll just use black. We really never use black too much on the show. And maybe I'll leave those spots empty. And we can come in with like, even if it was something just like a sky or like the night sky through those little ladybug dot openings, that'd be pretty cool. And we'll see how much we can mix it up. Maybe we can even try and like selectively use color or just use a few selective colors. Ladybug is a pretty cool animal though. I had this picture I made a long time ago. I'm just kind of calibrating myself. Cool. And let's see, let's not make it too big. We'll try and kind of like build out from it. I'm going to try and make it tall enough so things can be coming out of the side of it, and we'll kind of work that way. And perfect. This is about the perfect size. The holes will probably be too small to put something in, but maybe we can use that idea a little bit later. And I guess for the ladybug, it's kind of like this, right? I'm really going off the cuff here. It kind of has that little black head on the top. I think there's two little indents here like this. And then the rest of the head is black, isn't it? Yeah. And then it has the line coming down the back. It's good enough. Boom. Perfect. Maybe we will just roll like red and black for this one. We'll see how it goes. I'll just throw in the spots on the back. We could make them an atypical color, but then it might not look like a ladybug. So I might just leave them blank for now. And the real bug thing, you know, the person that suggested this said it's very summery. It's actually really true. I used to love painting insects. There's something about them, how like they're so, I guess like painstakingly made, but they're also really like fragile creatures. Something about that is really cool. They're almost like engineered. And if you paint them, you can get their legs coming off really cool. I used to paint a lot of fireflies and stuff like that. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, that looks pretty tight. And we'll come in with the red on the back. It would be kind of tight to roll only with the reds. Let's see how it goes. And the other thing about, you know, doing art, symbolism, again, I guess writers probably have this also, is that it's almost like you have like a public and private facing symbolic front. I really like having that as an illustrator. So sometimes when I'm working, if I'm making a more like enigmatic image, I used to do this a lot more. I still do it sometimes now, but it's a little bit different. But sometimes I'll deploy, I guess it's more like you go deeper into the aspects of the symbols that you would never really expect someone to pick up on if they were just looking at the picture. Like for me, one thing ladybugs represent is they're almost like oracles. Ladybugs have this ability to tell the future in a really weird, crazy way. When they hibernate, it's something like this. I haven't studied up on ladybugs in a little while. But there's something like when they hibernate, they have a choice. They can either go like deep down in the ground, or they can hide in like ready to go places like mailboxes and places closer to the surface basically. And when they do that, it's like they're gambling. If the winter is really, really cold and they chose an unhidden mailbox like place, they'll die. But if the winter is not that cold, if they choose the mailbox place, boom, they get to be the first ones out. So you see what I'm saying? There's a dichotomy between like going really hard and deep versus choosing like an uncovered place. And some scientists did some study, and they're basically right like all the time. The ladybugs are almost always correct, whether they choose like the unhidden place and then the winter isn't that cold, or they go way down deep and the winter is super cold. So to me, they almost have this like oracular symbolism. So if I was doing a picture, I might like use it in that way, and then I would tell myself, yeah, no one's going to know that. But it's fine. You can go deeper into the image than maybe most viewers would. Okay, a heart might be an interesting symbol. Okay, let's roll with it. I try and not censor the suggestions. That also kind of goes with the red theme. Let's see. Deploy the alizarin crimson right here. A heart. Well, you know, I was first thinking when you said that of like the Valentine's Day heart. It's pretty hard to deploy that without getting a certain like flavor in the image, especially since we started with a ladybug, which is already going to be like pushing us in a certain direction. But it occurs to me that it doesn't necessarily have to be that kind of heart. It could be a more like medical heart. Can't really tell which way to go with that one. Let's go with the more like medical kind of heart. That could be cool because we could get like the veins coming out and around it. I'm going to try and land in like a medieval spot with that. So I'm actually going to use the same color. I'm just going to use the same red. And we'll throw down the shape with this red. And then we'll come over it with a darker color. And if I was going to go for the heart thing, I'm just going to go for the full medical heart. And if we were doing it almost like, I don't want to say medieval style, but a little bit more simple illustration-y style, it really is almost just like a big generic organ shape. And I think what makes it look like a heart in particular to people are these tubes coming off of it. I'm taking a little bit of a gamble here, but I think it'll be cool. And we'll come back in and shade these in so it's like a little more obvious. And I'll put like a vein on it too. We'll turn that into a heart. It might just look like a generic organ, but I really didn't want to use the like cutesy, like hallmarky heart. And then that could be cool because if we get another color in, we could get like the blue veins coming off of it, or we could just watercolor it out and get like the veins coming around. We could put some light around it. Gold, red, and black is like a pretty classic color scheme. So let's see, we'll get a few things on the table and then we'll see like what direction we're going in. Heart is probably like one of the most universal symbols across cultures from all time. So maybe we'll get some wings on it, you know, we'll see. We'll get a few things on the table and then we'll decide how we want to take, what term we're trying to take. Have you heard of the Word Mission Society Church of God? No, tell me about it if you want though. Symbol, mouth. Yeah, dude, there we go. There we go, now we're talking. I'm just gonna throw down the mouth. Let's do this. I like the kind of maybe like creepy energy we're working on. Okay, two options here that I'm feeling right now. We could do it by paper. Perfect. I'm gonna grab some paper. Perfect. So for the mouth, okay, so I feel like I kind of know the direction we're gonna be going in already in my mind, because if we get some like facial elements, that's a really tight way to organize a picture because your mind naturally reads in faces into things, so you can play with that a lot. You get like a lot of like laterality. For the mouth, we could go one of two directions. We could go with kind of like the, you know, it's like a certain illustration style, almost like it's like a girl mouth or something, you know, something like that. You know, and then maybe we get like eyes up here or something, and then if we go the girl direction, it's kind of tight, because we can get like hair or ears. You know, we have a lot of like little pieces we can play with as we move along. Or we could just go full on sort of the other end of the spectrum, and I could put in like this kind of mouth. And then we can get the teeth. We can go like full on like primal style. This would be kind of cool, but I feel like we're going to go the top direction. But it would be kind of cool. I almost feel like this, it's funny, I actually thought this would lock us in more to a particular style, but I feel like this bottom one with the teeth, that this would actually end up locking us in too much to a particular style. So we'll play it safe. We'll go with the, just a sort of generic mouth. I used to do a lot of pictures, it's kind of already reminding me of it, where they were kind of just, I never really came up with like a name for them, but it was almost like I would think of like a time or a place, or like, not to get too like emo about it, or like a feeling or something, you know? And I would try and just like abstract that into a bunch of like different interlocking symbols. Yeah, it's actually kind of reminding me. I did this picture one time about like a summer evening, and I had like, I mean, I would never tell someone that because that sounds like really lame, but I'm just like being candid with you guys. But it looked really cool. And I had like a firefly and like these two girl eyes and like her hair coming down, and then in the background you had like, you know, the moon and stuff like that. It's kind of cool actually. I still remember that one after all this time. Fun fact about the ladybugs you might find interesting. Where I'm from, we call them little cows of St. Anthony. Where's that? That's sick. That's really tight. Do the anatomical heart. Nice. I'm glad you approve. We did that. The ladybug was originally called Our Lady's Bird in England, since Mary would be depicted wearing a red cloak. That's really cool. How have I never seen a picture of Mary from England with a red cloak? Okay, I'll come and read this. Let's see. The World Mission Society Church of God believes in God the Father and God the Mother. They also believe that Christ and God the Mother incarnated in Korea in the 1940s. You're talking about Moonies? Is that Moonies? Is that like the proper name for them? They pray to this Korean guy that they believe was Christ's second coming. Yeah, that's what I would know as the Moonies. I guess you're saying their proper name. They have like 3 million members. A guy tried to convert me at Walmart, super culty. That's really crazy, actually. Yeah, I know a little bit about them. Seraphim Rose, reading stuff. Okay, we need another suggestion. No other suggestions. Okay, I'm just going to wing it. Oh, Cloud suggested something. You have to tag me, otherwise I'm not going to see it. You got lucky this time. A fat dog. That's funny. Maybe I will put in a dog right now. Maybe I'll take a part of the dog suggestion. Yeah, the Moonies are pretty crazy. They're actually really, really big. The craziest part of them is how big they are. They actually had like a wedding ceremony in Madison Square Garden back in the day. In case people don't know, they're like this Korean cult, and they have this weird like genetic element. Genetic, I guess I'll say. Where, yeah, this Korean guy, I'm going to put in the dog. I try and not censor suggestions. I'm sitting here like, should I do the dog? But the whole point is that I don't filter suggestions. So I'm going to use the silhouette of the dog, and then maybe we'll put something in there. Kind of fits like the summer vibe also. Not that that is what we need to be going for. Let's see, maybe I'll try and paint it a little bit differently than I normally do. But I probably won't. So yeah, the Moonies, basically, what I understand of them, I did look into them a little bit, is that basically this Korean guy has this whole thing about how like the intention of Christ's coming was to establish like a genetic lineage, like he was supposed to have like a bunch of children or something, but he didn't. So now this Korean guy is like the second coming, and their whole thing revolves around these ordained marriages where people just go and get paired up blindly by either the Korean guy or his wife, and they actually marry each other. And then supposedly they're intended to have these like hyper blessed children from these like odd unions. And people really do it. And yeah, like I was saying, they actually got so big they had a wedding at Madison Square Garden, which is a huge venue in New York City back in the day, I'm pretty sure. And a lot of people were like really into it. I don't know how hard they go right now. It's funny because I heard this interview with this girl once, and she was raised as a Moonie, and the guy was asking, you know, when did you realize that this was not legit? When did you decide to like leave this? When did you first have this moment of like, oh, this isn't really working? And she said, well, I'm the daughter of 2 people that had one of these like celestial marriages, and I'm supposed to be like a holy child because of that. And it's really funny. She was like, I'm just not. She was like, I'm just a normal kid. And my parents were always really stoked about me being like one of the first like, you know, holy children born to this like blessed union. And she was like, I really just didn't feel that way. I just felt like a normal kid. And she said it was really awkward because her parents literally met and got married without knowing each other at all. And that it was awkward when she left the church, because that was like the whole purpose of their marriage, was like to have one of these like blessed kids, and it just like didn't work. It's kind of funny if you think about it. It's kind of sad, but it's funny from a distance. And yeah, that is funny. They have like the marriage thing. That's weird. I never really thought about that. I'm gonna shade this in a little bit. I don't know if this will fully come out looking like a heart. Maybe if we put in some like veins or something on here. That's all good. I'm going to leave the dog silhouette just the top, because I feel like I could do something interesting with the bottom. Maybe how it like flows into something else or like works into something else. Also, yellow would be a good color here, especially with the summer theme. Gold might work too. Yeah, I feel like we'll get some yellow and like light in and stuff. Bird. Okay, I'm gonna take the bird suggestion. You didn't tag me, so I feel like I'm able to take some laterality with your suggestion since you technically didn't follow the rules. Not a big deal, but I'm not gonna ban you or anything right now. But technically, you didn't follow the rules, so I'm going to use your suggestion a way that I want to, which is painting in some wings. I want to get some wings in here. I could commit. I feel like, I mixed up this dark red color, but I feel like I should commit to just the red, black, and maybe yellow right now. And I'm even going to try and keep it one tone of red. And I'm going to use the wings. The suggestion was bird. I'm going to make it wings though. So it's my show. And I'm going to use them to start creating a frame up here, because once we get like a little bit of a structure going on, we'll be able to do like a little bit more. So I'm going to come up here. Boom. Perfect. We're almost in like painting sketching mode right now, which is nice because that's usually how you get some interesting things happening. Once you let go of everything needing to be perfect, then you're able to, see what happens, get some interesting stuff going on. For example, right now I'm going to build these wings out from the back, and normally I don't do that. Normally I would start all the way out here and build them back from the tips, if that makes sense. I would come in from there, but instead I'm going to do it like this and just see what happens. And I can come back in and shade these feathers in. I read once that wings are symbolic of being on a divine mission. And I thought that was really epic. Here I have an option. I could just start folding this back right now and then put another layer of feathers, or I could make this the last layer of feathers. It sounds kind of trivial, but I don't really want this to be too big, so I am going to make this just the last layer of feathers out here. And yeah, we see angels with wings. I like putting wings on items, but I usually do think of it in that way. The wings are symbolic of some like higher purpose or something. Eventually they started to represent like almost like coming from the beyond or something to me. Perfect. They're kind of thin, but it looks pretty cool actually. I'm going to come in here the other side and paint these in also. Wings are another one of those universal symbols. Heart, wings. You could probably make a list yourself of like 10 to 20 symbols that are just totally universal across all cultures. I bet even if you went to some hyper-indigenous society in the Amazon or something and showed them a picture of a person with wings, they might not have the term angel, but they would probably know. I think they would get that. Come up around here. Perfect. Cool. Looks pretty cool actually. And I'm going to shade in one layer of the wings. I'm just going to actually get just water on the brush, and I'm going to grab the pigment out of the lines and just shade in this middle part right here. I chose the middle part because I thought it would leave it as clear as possible while still allowing me to get some contrast. I was worried if I shaded in the outside part or the inside part here that it would get a little bit too muddy. I wasn't sure how much of the pigment would come up here. Also, red wings make me think of cardinals. For a while I was using the cardinal in my art, referencing like the Catholic cardinals, like leaders of thought, the church in general, not just like the Catholic Church, but the church in general. The idea of a church in general, I should say. All right, let's keep it moving. Gold coins. Is that our first colored item? I suppose it is. So now we got a call to make. When we do the yellow, I could just use the straight cadmium yellow. This is like yellow though. Or what I really want, I think, is the raw sienna. The raw sienna, I think, is the way to go. And let's do it. Let's do it. So I used the term Rorschach test before, Rorschach test. I don't know how to properly pronounce any terms because I just read about stuff in my bedroom, so I'm not going to apologize for that. But I think that's also part of the interesting thing of doing this. You know, pretty much every time we've done this, all the symbols together, they usually do end up sort of communicating a message in a way. Maybe that's the inherent nature of symbols and combining them. But it's interesting because, you know, part of the summer thing, like summer evening thing, and then you have like the gold coins. It's almost like those are two antithetical worlds. You know, you have the world of like a relaxing summer evening, and then you have the world of like money, earning money, coins. It's kind of interesting in a way. So I'm just going to come up here, and I'm just going to throw this coin down, and I'm going to put it up here. I'm going to put it floating up at the top, above the heart almost. It'd be cool. We could even put wings in, coming down, intersecting the other wings, but let's see. And I want to make sure it looks like a coin, so I'm going to go like this. I'm going to throw it down horizontally. Boom. I was wearing the God and Money shirt that I made the other day while I was on that trip with my dog. And it's funny because that's one of my favorite designs I ever made, but it didn't really get that much traction. No, whatever, I'm cool with it. But that day, every single place I went, people complimented me on the shirt. It was really tight. And the first time I was totally blindsided. I mean, people compliment my shirt sometimes, but I was in a sustained interaction with this guy, so I couldn't just say like, thanks, and walk away. And he was asking me all these questions, and I never want to say like I made it because I'm always worried if I say like, yeah, I made this shirt, you know, like all of a sudden like a SWAT team's gonna kick in like, we got him, that's Owen Cyclops, we got him, like woo, woo, woo. So I didn't say anything, which I guess is stupid, but I didn't. And then at the next place, this like Japanese woman was asking me about it. She was like, oh, where can I get one? Like I said, oh, my friend makes these shirts, his name's Owen. It's really funny. I guess that's a lie technically, but I'm cool with it. Yeah, that looks really tight. It looks really tight with the red. We could throw a few more of those down. That's a really good look. You know, I'm just gonna go with it. Let's put a few more of those down. They look really tight, especially vertically like that. Let's go right here. Gold is another one of those universal symbols, actually. Pretty much everyone knows what the deal with gold is. Talked about the heart for a second, but it's interesting because a lot of the ancient uses of these symbols, you know, when you get into studying symbolism and stuff like that, at first you're like, yeah, I get it, like gold, it's shiny. Okay, like duh, I get it, all right. But it's kind of interesting. One of the things that really tripped me out about going into the alchemy stuff and things like that at the time when I was the most into it is gold isn't just like the most beautiful metal. It actually has like special properties that make it unique. I don't know if everyone knows that, but I didn't know that at the time. It's the most like incorruptible metal. It's the most like stable metal in this weird way. I think even some like crazy taste testers, like if you get a job like taste testing stuff for like some of these like really, really high-end like culinary companies, my friend said sometimes they'll use like a spoon or something coated in gold because it's one of the only metals that won't impart like a taste into your mouth. I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard that. It seems like it's spiritually true. But also gold won't like rust over time and stuff, so it's kind of interesting. I kind of come from a perspective, not to be the meme of that like guy in the park, but that very few things are truly like totally coincidental, and it's just weird that, you know, the most beautiful metal that's been like the most beautiful sought after metal for all of human civilization would also be like the one that doesn't rust and corrupt and things like that. It's kind of interesting. Cool. I used to be around a lot of Egyptian artifacts and stuff, and they go so hard on the gold. It's so epic. It's really, really, really good aesthetic. Yeah, this is looking tight. I thought the 3 coins like that would start adding a little bit of a structure, and I think that was a really good call. If I miss your suggestion, by the way, you can just say it again. I know you probably feel like I've been in like live chats before and someone doesn't see what you say and you're like, oh, should I say it again? I don't want to look stupid. But like if I don't see what you said, just say it again. It's all good. Do some of the lightning bugs and fireflies for the yellow. Yeah, we will get a firefly in here. That's a really good black shape also. I'm a little torn. I think I'll throw it down here. It's a nice like vertical thing. And then once we get that in, we're gonna have to start thinking about like the background and how we're like integrating everything. But that is a good suggestion. It's also a nice like super vertical item. I got kind of obsessed with fireflies artistically at some point. I'm not really sure why. And I did a bunch of these really big paintings of them. They were like huge. I got these. It's nice when you can just make art and like not worry about if it has any practicality or if anyone else is going to want it or whatever. So if anyone's doing that or getting into it, you should enjoy that right now. And then they have this line coming down the middle. So I got these huge pieces of like Japanese paper, like super expensive Japanese paper. And it's like hyper delicate. I could have made this guy a little bit wider, but I didn't. And with ink, I just painted these like huge fireflies on them. And it's really sick working with Japanese paper because I know it kind of looks like phallic right now, but don't worry, it's not going to. Because you get expensive Japanese paper and it has these like fibers in it. And as you're painting, you know, this paper has very small fibers, so it would never happen. But as you're painting, especially if you're going like super wet with the water and it's like soaking into the fibers, sometimes they call them dragon fibers. The water will like hit one of the fibers and the fiber will soak it up. It's almost like if you had like little rolls of paper towels like in a on the floor. That's exactly what it's like. If you had like rolls of paper towels on the floor, and when the spill hits the roll of paper towel, the paper towel like sucks it up. It's kind of a weird analogy, but that is kind of what it's like. So I was doing these huge paintings, like big, man. They were like 5 feet tall or something, of these fireflies with like black ink, and I had them hanging in my room. It's pretty cool, actually. It's a good time. And then I'd paint in the light, so the whole thing would be black and white, and then you put in like that yellow, green glow on the bottom. Perfect. Yeah, it looks pretty dope. Firefly is actually a good suggestion because they have red on their head, don't they? They have those 2 red marks. Sometimes they get inside my house, and you can see they have those 2 red marks on their head, so it actually does go with the rest of the picture. In one of these symbol dictionaries I looked up fireflies one time, and it said in Buddhism, I never heard this, but just said this in the symbol dictionary. It said in Buddhism, the firefly's light represents the light of like fake wisdom because it can't actually illuminate anything, but it has the light anyway, so it's like a deceptive light. I don't really think of them that way, but I thought that was cool. And what color we go with for the firefly light, man, you know, that green kind of acidy glow of the light is so sick. But then we've stepped out of the 2-color scheme. I can't really tell what to do. Actually, my instinct is to drop it in because it's such a unique color. We never really use that acidy green. And it would kind of go well with the picture, especially if we kick up like a fade in the background. So I think I'm going to do it. Then maybe if we get into like green or something later, we can pull in a little bit of green with this as a bridge. I feel like it's a good idea. So we got the yellow. So you can see already, this is a really green yellow. It's still yellow, obviously, but it's tending towards the green side. Part of the reason why I talk about this stuff is so you know how to talk about colors, frankly, with like other people. Maybe you go to like an art store with someone and you're like, oh, it's a really nice yellow. It's really yellow, but it's definitely tending towards green. I really like that. It sounds really smart. But we're going to drop in a little bit of a green. And I have this synthetic green in here that I know would work, but this is called sap green. And sometimes when you get this color in oil paint, it has that like acidy, grasshoppery kind of green color. This one doesn't. This one just looks like grass green. But I feel like this would be our best bet to try and mix up that firefly color. I'm just going to grab a tiny bit of the green. You know, honestly, what I would like to do, if I had one handy here, I might even do it. I'm not going to do it right now. But I would just like crack open a highlighter and mix it into the paint. That's like actually what would give us that really intense yellow-green color. See, it's almost too green. Is it? I can't really tell. See, I can't tell if this is the perfect color. When you start mixing colors that are what we call like tertiary colors. That means like, you know, everyone knows primary colors, red, blue, yellow. Everyone knows secondary colors like purple, orange, and green. When you start getting the tertiary colors, which are in between those, like like purple red, like red violet, or blue green, like those colors that are intermediary, it starts to mess with your head, because I could see this and I could see it as yellow, or I could look away and look back and then I could see it as green. I can see it either way. So I can't tell if it's too green or if I'm just thinking of it that way. But over here I'm gonna just mix it into some more yellow, just to be totally safe. See, but now is this too yellow? I'm just gonna mix them together. We'll go right down the middle. Cool. And it's gonna dry a little bit darker, of course. If you watch the show, you know that. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw this down here. After all that, just to put in this little spot down here. You can't even see it really, can you? We'll make it a little bit bigger than it normally would be, just so people can actually see it. Looks pretty dope. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this darker green color, and I'm going to come in with rings around it. Perfect. Yeah, dude, perfect. And I'll come back and outline that light. But for now, this is going to be perfect. Yeah, dude, this is such a good call. And one more, but I'm basically going to get like all the paint off the brush, and then just come back in for like the faintest ring around the outside. Yeah, nice. And when I outline that, it'll make it a lot more clearly visible. Once you get the boundary drawn between the white and the color, this looks pretty tight already. Okay, that was a good suggestion, whoever suggested that. Good job. Ren S, symbol suggestion, the moon, maybe in red. Perfect, perfect. All right, we're killing it right now. Okay, so we got a lot happening right now. Like I said before, oh wait, I didn't put down the legs on the firefly. That'll make it look a little bit cooler. So I'm gonna throw down, I don't know if they actually have antennas, but it'll look cool. When I do the bug legs, normally I come out with one bar and then I come in with the fold. Especially with the brush, I just think it's a good look. Perfect. I'm going a little bit more angular than I normally would, but it's okay. Cool. That looks tight. Looks like I could have gone with one less pair of legs, but it's not going to matter for the rest of this. Okay, so like I said when I threw that down at first, so now we've kind of laid down this like center axis. I think in terms of composition, probably like something and then split down the middle. It's like the most simple composition you're ever going to get. So now it starts to matter how we want to play it. So he suggested the moon. It's pretty cool. But now I'm thinking in my mind like, okay, well I could put it over here and then start to get a little bit of asymmetry going on, or I could bank on keeping it totally symmetrical, you know, and maybe there's like a red moon here, and then something else someone suggests can go over here. So we don't need to like make a hard and fast decision right now, but it's just interesting to think about. We are starting to decide a little bit more of like the composition and quality of the picture we're going to end up with. I think the move, if the moon was thrown in and is red, is that I'm gonna not outline it and leave it with these red wings. I'm gonna put it over here. I could put two moons in. That's pretty much a staple of some of my pictures, because you get the boom. Oh, perfect. The waxing moon and the waning moon. I might put another one in the other way over here, but for now we'll just leave it. Because if someone suggests something else like that's small and fits here, like a key or something like that, I mean, you don't have to suggest that, but I'm just giving you an example. It's perfect. I went with this size because summer evenings, like a positive thing. In case anyone doesn't know, you're about to learn. You can always tell which direction the moon you want to put down in a picture, because if you draw a line through the moon right here, it would make a B, right? So this is a waxing moon. It's getting bigger. If you drew a line here, it's B bigger, so this would be like a positive connotation in my opinion. And then if you drew it the other way, put a line down the middle, it's D for dying, that means it's getting smaller. So that's how when you're doing a picture, if you want to just step up how much you're engaging with like the symbolic aspects of it. You can decide if you're putting in a moon that's getting bigger or smaller. Okay. Here's an interesting one. Iron Grid said symbol, the number 7. Okay. However you want to interpret that. Okay, cool. That's a weird one. Okay. That's really interesting because so when we're making an image, I always feel like it's such a game changer if you include any writing or anything that's to be read or even like a letter or anything like that. I have a sticker upstairs I did where it's like a whole picture and then there's the letter A and there's an alpha and an omega and they just like sing out from the rest of the picture. You did say, however, I want to interpret that, so I could go with a non-glyph. It's a word I'm trying to use different words that don't make me sound so like pretentious, I guess, but I could go with not a glyph. Like I think of the number 7 as like a glyph, basically. It's like a letter. The proper term, in my opinion, would be like a glyph, a symbol, I guess, but that's very ambiguous if we're dealing with artistic symbols. So instead of using the number 7 like that, I could put in like a 7-sided shape. It's a lot of sides though. I'm pretty confident that I could do it actually and not mess it up. But then it kind of has to be pretty big. I could put in a 7-pointed star. That gives like that's going to give us a very like occulty, esoterica quality. I don't know if I want to take it there. Let's see. Let's see what it looks like. We'll just kind of paint it in off the side. The number 7 could be cool because it has like a lucky connotation. We have the coins. It almost kind of goes together actually. Somehow it fits like the rest of the picture. I used to be able to draw a 7-pointed star really well off the cuff. The trick is you got to get that bar in up there, and then let's come down here. Perfect. And the other points come in like this. That's pretty good for me not being prepped to do that at all. It looks pretty cool, honestly. It looks pretty cool. But I think it gives it a little bit too much of like a Eastern religion, esoterica vibe. I mean, it looks pretty cool though, honestly. It looks pretty cool. I'm kind of torn now. I could really take it either way. There. Well, let's see what the 7, just the number, would look like. I'm just going to grab it. I'd probably do it like this. I'd probably get the full... like that, maybe. Doesn't even really look like a 7. Your mind doesn't really even read it like a number, does it? With the line. Yeah, I guess then you kind of do. Wow, I'm actually really surprised. I actually like how this looks a lot better. Let's go with this. Let's go with the star then. Perfect. Oddly, maybe not coincidentally, I was thinking about the number 7 recently. Okay, let's see. I don't want to mess this up. Of course, if I do, it doesn't really matter. Come across. Cool. Boom. Boom. Those lines are almost parallel, but they're not. Cool. That looks really tight. Okay, nice. I'm down. That's a good shape to have in your back pocket, by the way, because if you just draw it when other people are around, it has a really weird energy to it, and your eye kind of like follows it around in a weird way. This one's not even perfect, but it still kind of has that weird like feeling going around. And when people see it, it's like, oh, is it a 6-pointed star? Is it an 8-pointed star? That was a good suggestion. I could even shade in the middle, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, like I said, I might miss your suggestion, so if I do, just say it again. I wonder if gold is perceived by us as the most beautiful metal because it doesn't rust and stuff. Kind of how women's beauty is because it shows fertility, baby bearing. Yeah, it's like a chicken and egg situation probably. They probably go together. I mean, in like an alchemical way, you would say that like as you refine something, of course, naturally it's going to become more beautiful, so it kind of would be like intrinsically paired together, in my amateur opinion. Someone suggested grapes earlier. Maybe grapes with a vine wrapping around the objects would be cool. Yeah, there we go. Now we're talking. Okay. That is a good idea. I think that intuitively what I'm thinking is we'll throw down almost like a golden vine down here, and then we'll put in like red grapes on it. That's what we're gonna do. Grapes, also a really solid, kind of fitting like the summer evening theme somehow. Somehow grapes fit summer somehow. So I'm just gonna come in and I'm just gonna paint in. I'm gonna try and go right up into the black of the firefly. I don't know how dark this is gonna be, but I thought that would dip a lot more, but it's okay. I thought it would bow like that a little bit more. It's all good, we'll make it work. Could come in and just tuck it in a little bit like that. That's cool. And then what I'm gonna do, just to make sure I get the flavor I want on this, is I'm gonna come in, cool, put in these leaves. I'm not exactly getting, there we go. See, this brush is not as big as the brushes that I normally use, so normally I really can come in and get that full kind of like nice leafy effect. But here I think I have to, there we go, that's what I want, perfect. Cool, cool, perfect, we'll just save that. There we go, cool, come in there, perfect. Yeah, there we go. That actually looks really tight. I didn't actually really leave room for the grapes, but I was really feeling the leaves on there. And you know what I'm going to do about that is I'm just going to grab the same color. I don't want it to be full opacity. And I kind of want to have it coming up here and then have the grapes coming off of it. I could just commit. I'm just going to come in, do it like this. Perfect. It's okay if you get a little bit of the chaos when you're doing like a natural, yeah, perfect, symbol, like vines and grapes and stuff like that. Cool. We might even get a second kind of peel off like this. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. And I'm going to paint in the grapes. I'm going to go with like the dot style, almost like folk arty. I'm not going to paint it in like I normally do so hardcore. I just think it'll fit the kind of background vibe a little bit. In the calendar I was working on today, I'm trying to wrap it up before like the middle of August. So I'm just gonna come in. Sometimes you see like in folk art or like medieval art, they'll paint in grapes like this. I think it's like kind of cool in a way. It's like the implication of grapes almost. Yeah, there we go, dude. Oh, it's perfect. You can see even just this little thing right here, it adds like a nice texture quality. You don't really want everything in a picture sometimes to be like the same, texture really isn't the right word. Like the same language, almost maybe language is the word I'm looking for. Like here's the lines, here's the color, sometimes you want to change it up a little bit. Just makes it more visually interesting. But in this calendar I'm working on, I did this grape and vines border for like the year itself. So like the whole year is enclosed in these like arcs, these like 4 quarter circles. And I did this border and it looks insane. I was looking at it today. I did it yesterday and I started looking at it again today and I was like, wow. Normally I don't brag, but I was like, wow, I really stepped it up there. That was really solid. And I did it so the arc of the year is cut off. There's like a bump on each Sunday. And then in between the Sundays, it alternates between green and purple. So it's like green, purple, green, purple. Looks really sick. Cool. That looks really tight. That looks really tight. Okay. Let's see. Suggestion, leaves, maybe around the border. Yeah, we gotta start thinking about how we're gonna enclose this bad boy. This does look really cool right now, honestly. We did a really good job so far. I'm a little torn because I could definitely imagine coming up and around with like some golden leaves. I'm really torn if I want to do that or not. I feel like I have to start making some decisions about like closing this off and like how we're going to enclose this. So I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to think too hard about it. I kind of have to decide, I guess, what kind of leaves we're going for here. I could make them green too, but I'm really feeling the color scheme right now, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. Perfect. We might come back in and put some like veins and stuff on the leaves. I don't know if we will though. And I'm intentionally using, I don't want to say an ambiguous shape, but a shape that, perfect, there we go. Where I can make the next leaf however I want, if that makes sense. Ah, perfect, that looks perfect. Yeah, this looks really tight. We'll do sort of the same thing over here. Perfect. What I meant by leaving it open is sometimes, you know, if you're doing like a border pattern like this, and you have it really rigid, you're really locked in. Like if I had all the leaves like this stacked, like, then I have nowhere to go if I want to change it. If you have 8 leaves that are the same and then you want to change one, that one's going to stick out. Sort of like a sore thumb, I guess you could say. So I wanted to leave my options open there a little bit. I'm going to come up here with one more. Perfect. And that looks really tight. What I am going to do is I'm going to shade them in though. You can see it looks good, but now we're getting a little like visual clutter, just a tiny bit. So I am going to shade these in a little bit. Cool. I do still want to keep that really powerful trifecta of the coins though, so I'm going to keep this handy and I'm going to like dab up the color a little bit because I want to keep that strong visual together of those 3. I don't want it to get lost if I accidentally shade one of these and it gets too dark. Cool. Perfect. It almost has like a laurels quality to it right now. You know, like those leaves people used to wear. Perfect. And I'm going to come back in and paint in the veins on these too. Nice. This is a really good example. You know, doing the show, I get so caught up in like planning what we're going to talk about, like scripture-wise or theology-wise and stuff, which is really tight. I mean, I really like doing that. But also what we're doing right now is a really good example of like, I know it probably sounds really cheesy, but there really is like a self-investigative and like, I don't want to use the word therapeutic, I kind of am though, but really like a self-investigational aspect of doing art. I mean, even if you're not like good at drawing, you can imagine like doing what I'm doing right now and, you know, it kind of lets you think non-verbally. That's really what I want to say. I'm just going to come in and put some veins in here. We're so used to like thinking in certain set patterns and stuff, you know? And even though we think so much in terms of pictures and images, most people never have a way that they can like actively engage with that, you know what I mean? Like maybe you put up art in your house, maybe you watch a movie, that's a form of like visual thinking. But most people never have a way to actively participate in like visual thinking, you know? So you could even sit down and just draw something and, you know, you get used to like what your way of engaging with it is. You know, you can say, okay, well here I'm going to draw this house. This represents like my house. And I'm going to draw, you know, I don't know, this like flower that represents like my girlfriend or, you know, my dog or something. And, you know, it's kind of interesting. There's something about like all the different aspects of a picture, like how close things are, how big things are, just seeing things like next to each other. Has a way of like unlocking like different parts of your brain. Perfect. Okay, that was the high school art teacher moment of the show. Man, that leaf border looks sick. Looks sick, honestly. It just looks tight. Also, other thing we're doing here is like, normally I throw down the border in the beginning of the show, but I didn't want to do that because I sort of like the organic build-up. Basically it. Okay, let's see what else is going down right now. Suggestion leaves. Okay, cicadas. It's a good suggestion. I don't know if I'm confident that I know what a cicada looks like though. Let's pull one up on the phone. I never pull up anything on my phone during the show. I don't think I've ever done that. Let's do it right now though. Does a cicada look like a locust? Not really, right? I mean, in my mind, I know what they look like, but... Okay, let's see. I put in cocada instead of cicada, and a food came up. I'll show you. I'm not just going to be like off screen for a second. Huh. This would be interesting. It's a pretty creepy looking bug, dude. Can I show this? Yeah, there's nothing. Cicadas. Never shown my phone on the show before. This is my phone. This is where I tweet from. Interesting. Interesting. You know, I might take this suggestion and take a part of it because I'm thinking about it. Honestly, what I'm thinking is I'm not supposed to censor the suggestions. I kind of am right now, to be honest with you. Yeah, so I'm thinking that like the black with the red eyes, it's going to be kind of creepy, which I could roll with, but I'm worried it's going to upset the visual balance because it's so dark. But what we could do is deploy these wings. The wings are really sick, and I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to use the wing aspect of that suggestion. But where are we going to put them? We already have these kind of wings. They're almost like dragonfly wings in a way. I could have them like tucked under here. Part of me is worried they won't look like wings, but if I start worrying about whether it's going to work or not, then we might as well just call it quits. So I'm going to go for it. We'll put it around the outside here. We'll kind of like tuck it in. Kind of getting like a wreath thing going here. The only other question is what color do we paint the wings in? Could put them in red. Maybe red's the obvious answer here. Let's throw some red. And if I tuck them down, I'm kind of worried the eye won't read them as wings. I could put them coming out laterally. We have this nice wreath shape. How much am I married to the wreath shape? We got a lot of questions going on right now. But I'm going to have to just make a call. And I'm going to throw them down over here. My instinct is telling me to do that. So let's see. I'm going to come... We'll start right here. We'll throw it down like that. And we'll come back up here. And I want to make sure it reads as a wing, so I'm going to come up like that. Perfect. It's funny just seeing that shape, isn't it? You know, it's a really ambiguous shape, but it almost looks like a cocoon or something. You know, it has the feeling of like bug nature, even though it's just a random little shape. You could probably psychologically read into that quite a bit. Something about the arc coming into these points. Can't say exactly. Okay, and once we throw these down, you can already tell we're going to have to get a little bit more contrast going in the center. But we'll make it work. And I'm just going to wing it with that pattern. I used to do a lot of drawings with like bug wing patterns and stuff like that. And I think what makes them look proper, what makes them look the way they are, is that you start out with these bigger cells and they like build up and like come off each other. Perfect. And then they come down into these like smaller cells almost. Perfect. See, but they stay rounded. I'm already kind of losing it a little bit. I had it for a second there. And then eventually near the end, what they do is they come into these, it almost just like fills out the rest of the space. I actually really like the quality that we got there. It's kind of cool. I don't know if someone that just stumbled along would know it's a wing, but I actually like the visual quality that we have going on there. Maybe I'll put a dragonfly wing in above it just to like drive it home. It also could just be like a pattern. We could just have it be like a pattern in the art. Okay, we'll come down here a little bit. Perfect. It's hard nailing that round end because it's not like so round, like a finger, but it's also not too thin. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I don't know if someone would know these are wings, but it's kind of tight actually. And I'm going to start fuzzing out the background a little bit because I'm just going to grab some of this red. Oh, perfect. Just taking this out a little bit. Perfect. Just a tiny bit. And this is going to have some black coming off the dog. Nice, great. And we'll come down here too. Let's fade this in also. Cool. I'm more used to like locusts and stuff, I guess. The locust is oddly like a bug I feel like I can really easily bust out. Man, that looks sick. Okay, I'm gonna start pulling out some of the color. Like here, I want to get this black out. Yeah, perfect. You can almost feel it like becoming like way more 3D and like real. If I can get some of this brown out here into the black, I'm just gonna grab some actually. I could do that. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Something else can go here on top of the dog's head, or we could just make it like night sky. That's pretty solid. Let's see, any other suggestions? Eventually I'll have to cut us off. I can't tell where though. It'd be cool to have two distinct sides and then like a yin-yang symbol, have it opposite in the dog. That's just regards to the general color. Huh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, let's start thinking about how we're coloring this. We could get away with that with just the black and white, you know? Because I'm thinking like night sky. I was even thinking, you know, am I introducing another color? Blue would be really sick. But then we've totally lost our like restricted color palette thing. Making an executive decision here and coloring these lips in red. Cool. And this is going to be a little bit of a risky move, but I feel like it's the way to go. Perfect. Perfect. Nice. Oh, that was dope. Okay. Yeah, the dog is interesting because the dog could be black or white. It could go either way. I'm tempted to just fade in the dog's head black, have it kind of gray out a little bit, but then I don't want the lips to look like monkey lips, you know, if we get like a hard edge there. Okay, so we can't do that. Could do it the opposite way. Could have the dog's tail fading in black. I really like that suggestion. Because we have the dog, we didn't color it yet. Okay, I'm going to table that for a second. Let's see, what else did people say? Do you ever play with the pop art rasterized aesthetic? How might that play in some of your work if you were to include it? Yeah, it's a good question. Okay, I will answer that. Let's see. Okay, there's no more suggestions. If you want the heart to look more like a heart, you can add an extra chamber on the top right. Yeah, I could do that. Okay, so let's see. There's no more symbol suggestions. That's kind of good. I think maybe we're near... I don't want to say ending, but we're near like adding in. Let's kind of like consolidate what we have here. I'm just going to shade out. Well, do we want to add another color? That's the real kicker. The dog could be brown. Let's see what our options are here. I don't know, man. I'm just going to go with my gut here. I'm going to go with my gut. My instinct is saying to do this, so I'm just going to do it. Because summer makes me think of like nights. We kind of have a little bit of like an evening vibe going on already with the firefly. So I'm just going to pull this out here. I think this is a good call. And I'm actually going to add more black. Way more black than that. Because we can get this to be like kind of like the night sky behind the dog here. Ooh, that was really black. It's okay though. It's kind of cool actually. I thought I was going to have to hit it with the paper towel, but it's kind of cool. So we'll wet this up here. Now I will have to hit it with the paper towel because now it's too much. It's kind of dope though, actually. Kind of balances out the rest of the picture. So I'm going to fade this up here and then connect it with the darker pigment. Perfect. Perfect. Oh, that looks sick. Let's get this going up here. Okay, that was really, really, really solid. Let's see what happens if we do it on the other side with this tan color. Yeah, that was a good call too. Way too much pigment though. Coming with the water, there we go, but still too much. Cool. Cool. Someone said the ladybug looked like a scarab. I kind of agree, actually. I read this Augustine quote once about how, like, in Egypt, once the Egyptians became Christian, they used the scarab as like a symbol of Christ because of his rebirth. And I was like, wow, that's so epic. And I looked it up and I was like, that's a fake quote. It's not real. Man, look at that fade. So good. Get a little more of the color out here. Okay. And let's see what we got to address a few things. The dog is really throwing me off because I don't know what color to make the dog. I like that it's white. Maybe I just leave it white. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do this. This is going to be the maneuver right here. I'm going to come in with the fade and we'll just kind of fade down the silhouette of the dog. Yeah, this is perfect. Kind of fade down the silhouette of the dog here. Cool. It's pretty cool. Doesn't really feel like a cop-out. I wanted to make a call that wouldn't feel like a cop-out. As long as you can stand behind your decision, no one can really. And then it's kind of nice because it a little bit, almost a little bit too much even, makes it look like the shape of the face a little bit down here. I don't want that too much, but I actually kind of like it. It almost makes me want to lock in and throw in more of like the female face kind of details. You know, actually, I am going to do that. Okay, I'm taking this off the rails. I'm taking this off the rails right now. Yeah, Slam Tucker said lightning. That's perfect, dude. That's perfect. That really fits the vibe, doesn't it? I'll throw that in a second. But this is where her cheeks would be, and I was wondering what color to make the dog. I'm just going to throw down. Oh, dude, this is such a good call. Such a good call. I'm just going to throw down almost like it's red cheeks on this girl. Dude, this is a really killer decision right there we just made. I don't want to go too hard, but I'm going to grab a little bit more of that red. Yeah, dude. There we go. Now we are talking. Oh, dude, what a good visual situation we have going on right there. It's perfect. I'm going to dry this up a little bit. Oh, too much. That always happens. Okay. Cool. That's actually very interesting. I really like that a lot. Maybe I'll come in with just a little bit of other shading on the dog. Perfect. Come up here. Yeah, dude, that was an epic call. I'm really, really pleased with that. Yeah, perfect. Nice. We'll make the dog's nose darker. And then we can even get a spot on the dog that's almost like a beauty mark. Perfect. Perfect, dude. But we can't have the dog with the tan nose, then it starts to look like a cat a little bit. That's just not the maneuver. Perfect. Yeah, dude. Wow. That was really powerful. That was really powerful what just happened right there. Okay. Okay. Lightning. Oh yeah, lightning. Let's see. I'm really tempted. I feel like I'm pressing my luck now because it does look really sick right now. I'm really tempted to throw the green up above in here, just like a tiny bit of the glow of the green. But then am I pushing my luck too much? I don't know. We got this far. That's kind of my rule with pictures that I really do advise people if they ask me about making pictures. Like once you start worrying like, oh, am I going to ruin it? Then it's game over. So in the spirit of not, oh yeah, dude, that was a good call. In the spirit of not bowing to that, I'm just going to kind of go with my instincts here. Yeah, dude, that was a really good call. Okay, and I'm going to see if I can pull out just a little bit of like the red. And I'm going to dry this up with the paper towel because it's going to be way too yellow. I only want the maximum yellow on the outside. I thought I'd get a little bit more of the red. That's really what I want, is the red like bleeding out. There we go. Exactly like that. Sick. Yeah, dude. I'm actually not even going to dry that up. Looks perfect. Looks perfect. I feel like we're approaching that moment when it feels kind of done suddenly. So just prepare yourself emotionally, because I feel like that's going to happen. I'm going to add a little bit of like the reflected. Yeah, dude. Oh, such a good call. A little bit of the reflected green light. I don't want to push it too much, but I am going to add a little bit of the reflected green light in here. It's a little bit too much, but it's okay. I'm going to dry that up a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Tired Teller said the cicada wings now look like earrings, which is dope. Yeah, for a second I really did think about throwing down the ears, but I don't think I'm going to do that. This is really like a lot of the pictures I used to make. In fact, if you go in my, I'm not trying to make an aggressive plug right now. I think in my shop though, I have this drawing called Suburbs, and it is a girl like with a bug. She might even have a ladybug on her face or something. But this is kind of like things that I did a long time ago. I mean, I really like it, don't get me wrong. Okay, other little things. I was going to outline the light down here, but I'm not going to. I really like the idea of including the lightning bolt. And honestly, my instinct is telling me that if we put like a red lightning bolt down here, it would be really tight. I feel like it won't be too cluttered, but we're going to get right up against the edge of like visual clutter. But I think it's a good idea. I'm just going to do it. This might be the last detail. I think it probably will be. We're basically right on time too. It's 8:28 right now. So I'm going to do it. I'm just going to throw it down. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Great. Huh, there we go. There we go. Dude. Honestly, I made this show so people would get into making art and stuff. And if you feel like you need like something to do, it's just so good, because sometimes you have those moments like what I just did and you're like, yeah, dude, perfect. It's interesting because I was reading, a lot of the stuff I'm reading is about like man's relationship to God and stuff, and like, you know, God is like a creator and like creates stuff, and like, not that I get so highfalutin about what I do, but I really do feel like when you're creating something and it just goes perfectly, you get that feeling, and I feel like there must be something like a little bit divine about that when you're just like, when you make something. I don't know, I think about that a lot, because God is his main feature is that he makes stuff, and then when humans make stuff, it's a really interesting, weird little like subsection of like aesthetics and theology. I can't really parse it out myself. All right, man, I feel like I can't push my luck any more than that. I feel like it looks sick. I'm going to move some of the paint stuff around so we can actually look at this, and then I think that's going to be the story right now. I'm going to move this. I just want to get this visual clutter out of here. That's another thing if you're working on stuff on your own. Sometimes just moving the painting to a different room, moving it to a different visual environment sometimes lets you see things a little bit more clearly. Okay, I'm going to move this. Perfect. Cool. Cool. Let's see. Yeah, man, I feel like this looks perfect. I'm going to bring the camera down a tiny bit. Bink. Cool. All right, we killed it on that one. Honestly, this is definitely the best chat suggestion one so far, in my opinion. Maybe I'm forgetting one. I always feel like the last painting we did is the best one, so. But this one's really tight. Let's see, I always say, you know, at the end, feel the need to kind of recap, but you were just here the whole time. But there are some interesting, like, highlights here. Like, I really like that we left the spots on the ladybug white. I think that in the beginning when I talked about keeping everything married and integrated, that really does a lot, because the other thing I was going to say, when you get to like drawing and painting, one thing that is kind of like a sophisticated element to play with is like, I said this before, but like if you're doing like real oil painty stuff, you wouldn't start on a white background because the white like blows out all the colors. When you're working straight on the white, sometimes you get to a point where the white starts to function as a color, if that makes sense. Like in the beginning, it really was black and red. But once we started fading in here and fading in here, the dog like popped out. That's when it's like, oh, now the white is an active color in the picture. And I feel like something about having the white here really like keeps it all married together. This is cool up here. Makes it kind of feel like, oh, there's something going on here. I like the texture. This is dope, man. I really like this a lot. And like these strokes in here and how it fades down with the spots and everything. And the cheek parts are probably my favorite. Cool, man. This is a really, really good one. This is a really good one. All right. That was a really good time. So funny, the time goes by in like 2 seconds for me. I don't know how it feels for you, but it feels like we start and then it's like boom. All right, that's the deal. And it's perfectly right on time at 8:30. Thanks for coming through to the painting show. I really like doing this. I look forward to it throughout the week. Thanks for being here, especially for this one. Without people suggesting stuff, this episode could not exist. So thanks. And that's basically the deal. On my end, I got a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipeline, but it's going to be a minute because I took on some big projects like the calendar, the comic book, but I got some other stuff coming on too. I'm making this cool graphic right now. I'm not going to tell you about something you're not looking at, but I got some cool stuff coming down soon. And I guess moving forward with the show, I kind of want to hit some more scripture stuff. We did the Adam painting last week. That was really sick. So I feel like we'll slide back into the original, not original, but like the second season, we just did like scripture stuff every week and it was really tight. So I feel like we'll slide back into hitting like maybe characters in scripture or things like that. We'll see how it goes. Otherwise though, this one was really cool. Thanks for being here for this one. It's really kind of a special one in a way. And now we go back to the internet where we all hang out together, back to the fray, the chessboard of spiritual warfare. So thanks for coming through, and I will see you guys later.